Hi, it's Mal, your gal pal, the host of Those Are the Girls with Mallory and Friends. If you're looking for a podcast that's talking about relationship, careers, and pop culture from the Christian perspective, look no further. You have found her. And this podcast, myself and some of my friends are sharing our opinions from the Christian perspective, and they might be a little bit different than what you're expecting. So go ahead, pour yourself some tea. Let's get into it. The views expressed on this podcast are our own and do not reflect our employers. Enjoy. Hi, I'm Mal, your gal pal. Welcome to My Pink Dress. You are listening to Those Are the Girls with Mallory and Friends. I'm the Mallory and Mallory and Friends, and today it is another solo Mal episode. We have much to discuss this week. A lot has gone on. Some fun personal things have gone on in my life as well. But yeah, if you are new to this podcast, I and sometimes my friends come on here to talk about things like life, career, relationships, and pop culture from a Christian perspective. And we're giving takes that, you might not hear your average Christian or your average, I'm a millennial, your average millennial take. Like some of my takes, you're not going to hear anywhere else. That's why you really need to listen to the podcast and join the community. Other girls, we're different, and it's okay. It's okay to be different. That is another lesson that I want everyone listening to this to take. Oh my gosh, a week from tomorrow, it'll be 6 years. I have not done anything or prepared. I just realized, wow, a week from tomorrow, I would have had my podcast for 6 years. That's so crazy. 6 years. I've just been on here yapping. People have come and go for a myriad of reasons, honestly. I have loved, I've lost, I've gained friends, I've lost. It's so crazy. 6. Wow. And I completely forgot to plan a party. I'm gonna have to do that soon. All right. Well, anyway, any hoosers. Okay. I think anything else before we get started. I don't have my cute little mug today, but I have my green juice. I'm trying again on this weight loss thing. If you've been here for 6 years, you have seen ups and downs mainly ups. Well, ups and downs in the weight loss, but like the number keeps going up, which is another conversation. Not something I want. I want to say this too. If you're watching, you're like, dang, this girl is fat. I want you to know, like, I'm not one of those fat girls that wants to be fat. I'm one of those fat girls that has been trying since like 3rd grade, and just for whatever reason, like, can't. But hopefully 800th time's the charm. No, but seriously, so I have that because I really need to finish this morning. Okay, so let me look at mine. Whew, this is loud. Sorry about that. Let me look at my docket. I also rejoined Crunch Fitness, and I was just thinking, like, this is like kind of embarrassing. Like, I've joined and rejoined, but it's just cheaper than 9 round. And right now I really need something cheap, and then it just has more variety, obviously, of like workout stuff. Docket, pulling the docket up. All right, so yeah, today's pour. I'm gonna start like incorporating some more tea stuff. I'm trying to rebrand it, not rebrand, like elevate the brand, I guess you could say. So anyway, what we're gonna be talking about today, Alice Cooper, who I probably talk about a lot for someone who does not like her, but like I'm just so fascinated how she makes so much money podcasting. She has these businesses, and it's all because she talked about her sex life. Like, nobody wants to hear how, like, and if you have been here from the beginning, one of the reasons me and my friend that I initially started this with, we wanted to do this because we were looking for, me specifically, I was looking for a podcast that talked about, that could be popular, that talked about these type of topics. But like, I wasn't hearing cursing every 5 seconds, and I wasn't hearing about hookups, and I just couldn't find it. Now the toasts, absolutely love. Those girls, despite what you read, they're not like super MAGA. I mean, they're like conservative leaning. They're not even conservative. I think they're probably more right of center than left of center, but like you're not gonna like a Facebook group of men with people who are very precious about certain things. They listen to it as a recommendation by someone. And they were not. They were disappointed to say the least. But it's such a good podcast. And they weren't disappointed because the content wasn't good. They were disappointed because like people who told them about it like build it like, yeah, they're like these super modest conservative girlies, and like that's not them. And that's not necessarily me either, but I'm like a step a little bit further right than them, I guess you could say, when it comes to like, I really try not to curse in my personal life, and I definitely don't curse on the podcast. And like, yeah, you're not gonna hear me talking about like hookups and things like that. You're all gonna hear my hot takes. So we're gonna talk about Alice Cooper. Sorry, we're gonna talk about Bill Gates' daughter. We're going to talk about that conversation about trans women having a more beautiful, I guess, I think that's what they said, more beautiful understanding of womanhood. We're going to talk about that. And I'm going to say some things that you might not think I'm going to say, but I'm going to say some things. And then we're going to talk about the Massachusetts abortion law. And then we're going to end it with I Saw and Juliet. And I have some happy thoughts about that. That's how we're going to end the show. So if you have not, grab your drink as we get ready to discuss what's happened this week in the world. I don't know. Ready? Okay. All right. Let's do Alice Cooper first. Let me move this here because God forbid I smell this. Also, you can't really see, but I'm wearing a brooch. This is just a side note. I'm wearing a brooch because there's a ginormous stain from coffee that I cannot get out on this dress. This is a dress. And I'm wearing this brooch. I got this brooch from a thrift store in the town where I work. And I'm actually doing this project, this like Enneagram project that I hopefully will show everyone soon, that involves brooches. And just a side note, Goodwill does not sell brooches. I want to get I don't want to necessarily order brooches, but I end up might be ordering like maybe some thrifted ones. Like I want to thrift them. Like I want to thrift them in person, but I might order like from Etsy, like I just need miscellaneous brooches. So if you are listening and you're like, I have a bunch of brooches I just do not like, send them over to me. Reach out. I'll give you my address. I'll pay for shipping. Or if you want to do it for free, that's even better. But I'm doing like a little project, so I'm wearing this brooch. Okay, let's get into the stories. Stories brought to you by Yahoo. Let me like pick this up. It's just my phone is charging because the battery is low. Okay, Alice Cooper's unwell beverage runs in almost as fast as it began, according to Bloomberg, which cited people familiar with the plans. Unwell Beverage Co. will end production after its Halloween-themed flavor hits shelves. Target is the primary retail partner of the brand, and the retailer will reportedly sell its remaining supply without restocking it. Following that, the drinks will be out of stores for good. Cooper launched Unwell Hydration with Nestle in 2025. Listen to that. Nestle in 2025. The initial lineup consisted of 3 drinks that contained electrolytes, vitamins, and caffeine. Later, the company expanded its product line to include protein and energy drinks. Cooper frequently featured the drinks on her podcast with her and her guests. The drinks mainly targeted women in the crowded sports and energy drink market. The shutdown comes as Cooper continues building her business beyond podcasting. Cooper and her husband, Matt Kaplan, who used to be married to Emma from H2O / Rebecca from Vampire Diaries. Not Emma. Emma was the brown-haired one. Wow, why am I blanking on her name? But she's Rebecca in Vampire Diaries. Oh my god. She did play Emma. Okay. Claire Holt is her name. I was thinking Cleo is who I was picturing when I was saying Emma, but Emma is actually Claire Holt, who was also Rebecca from Vampire Diaries. Anyway, that's who used to be married to Alice Cooper's now husband. Interesting. The company now encompasses podcasts, TV, and film production, merchandise, and live events. All right. It's just like a quick thing. Like I said, I'm very interested in her. I'm interested in business in general. Just how do people have these ideas and these dreams, and how do they get them to be successful? And how do you get people to like back you? Because I mean, Nestle, do you know, like look up Nestle. Nestle is like $1 billion company. And this is just a girl who had a podcast. Like, am I missing something? How are people doing this? That's why I'm just so fascinated by it. Because, like, if you listen to the podcast for like 5 seconds, like I have really big dreams that, have not come even slightly true. And I'm just like, how does this happen? But also very interesting that after a year. The company started in 2025. After a year, is shutting down, which also makes me wonder if this was already the plan. Like, had they already planned to shut down their business within the year, or was it more of did something happen? I don't know. It almost, I was listening to the Toast Girls talk about it, and they're saying, oh, I guess it kind of means that it was a failure, and sure, but it also feels like maybe it could have been planned. Like, they had planned to always do this. I don't know. That's just what I'm wondering. Okay, that just want to talk about for 5 seconds and then move on. This is also a story I heard on the Toast, but goes to the same idea of I guess obviously how she's able to do this is just she's rich because of who her daddy is. But anyway, actually, yeah. All right. So this is from hola.com, HOLA. Hola. Anyway, Phoebe Gates scandal explained the allegations rocking the Bill Gates' youngest daughter. All right, everybody listen to what's going on. I'll try to be as clear as possible. Phoebe Gates, who is Bill Gates' youngest daughter, is involved in a complicated legal scandal. She's the subject of a new report that accuses her retail brand, Fia, of cookie stuffing. It's going to explain what it means. Over the past year, Phoebe and Sophia have been promoting their fashion platform, which uses the help of AI and compares prices across different fashion products while applying coupons, providing users with the best possible clothing deals. It kind of sounds like Honey. Everybody remember when Honey was super popular? It comes in an app and a browser extension, and it has received support from all sorts of celebrities backers including Hailey Bieber and Kris Jenner. The site was launched last year alongside Phoebe and Sophia's podcast, The Burnouts, where they talk about being startup founders and young professionals. A recent Bloomberg report emerged alleging that Fia was engaging in cookie stuffing. This practice occurs, listen to this, when an app secretly drops a tracking cookie in a user's browser without the user clicking on a referral link. If they buy something later, the retailer believes that the app referred them there, paying a commission it never earned. It's a practice that could be treated as federal wire fraud. The report alleges that Phoebe and Sophia knew of the scheme for at least the past 7 months, airing various Slack messages with their coworkers. In a statement, Fia reps said that they would learn from this and want to ensure our users have the best possible shopping experience with features like our new digital closet and more to come. The lawyer, Ariel Genevieve, said that the cookie stuffing could be prosecuted as a serious crime. There's a possibility of a max penalty of up to 20 years in prison, plus fines and restitution. Okay, so hopefully that explained it. Essentially, you would, on we'll say your browser, anything that you bought, they put something on your computer that made it look like it was because that they referred it to you, even if they didn't. Even if you hadn't opened that app or the website or whatever in months, they would get some sort of, it looked like you were referred to by them, which is fraud. Crazy stuff going on. And they're part of the 30 under 30 prison pipeline. I don't know if you guys have heard that or seen that. A lot of 30 under 30 people who are featured on Forbes 30 under 30 are part of the prison pipeline. And it looks like that's going to be them. I just find it so fascinating about how life works out, how there's so many people who have dreams and goals and ideas. The reality is not everyone's going to achieve them. And then sometimes people who achieve them waste it. And it's just God, if you give me this opportunity, I wouldn't waste it. Sometimes I just know I was supposed to be born into a rich family. Sometimes I just know it. And somehow that didn't happen. I'm not supposed to be working. I'm not supposed to be driving. But alas, here I am. And if I had this opportunity to start a business, I would not be frauding people. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing that out there. I would not be frauding people. But she got the business idea. Now let's also talk about it from the perspective of how unique this type of fraud is. So first of all, when I heard of the business, I was like, okay, that just sounds like honey. And I think that the more innovation, the more innovative people are, the more that you have to like think outside of the box. I think sometimes that's what comes up with these ideas, and you have to have it in yourself to like not play into that. And I'm sure she was under a lot of pressure for this to be. I mean, she's Bill Gates. The whole thing is like Bill Gates' daughter, Bill Gates' daughter. I'm sure she's under a lot of pressure to like make this successful. And I think that something that I have been learning and working on in my personal life, you know, I don't have these type of problems, but is like trying not to make decisions and do things out of desperation and pressure. I'm trying to take my time. I am trying to be better at like taking my time agreeing to things, taking my time, you know, and making decisions that are essentially better, because I think sometimes it's like we have this pressure that we put on ourselves, society can put on yourself, your parents can put on yourself, to do things. So we make decisions out of fear, out of desperation, out of rushing. And then they end up being these terrible detrimental decisions. And I think it's just really important for us to take a minute back, like take a step back, take a minute back too. I'd love to take minutes back, but take a step back and just really think about the decision that we're making and thinking about like long-term goals, and then thinking about like is like the morality of situations. I don't think that sometimes when we're making these big decisions, when we're doing X, Y, and Z, we're thinking about like, is this decision, I don't know her, you know, religious background. I don't know nothing about this girl. But like as Christians, like, is this a decision that will glorify God? Is this a decision that God will be pleased with? And I don't think we take enough time to step back and think about that. I don't. And I know that sometimes I've made decisions that aren't even that big of a deal, or don't have as big of a repercussions as some decisions. And I realized like, oh, this was a bad decision because I just didn't take the time to step back. And like, there are moments in life where it's either like you go one way or you go the other. Like there's like a path. Like it's very clear that like this is a left turn or a right turn. And yeah. And I think that when we're making these decisions, we have to absolutely consider like, is this something that will glorify God? And I'm sticking with it. All right. The next two stories are like more serious. They're more like, yeah, hot tea. This is more hot tea. That's what I'm gonna, stuff like this, I'm gonna say like hot tea alert. So hot tea alert. I'm gonna play this clip from a podcast that went viral. I think the podcast happened like months ago, I think. But this clip is going viral now for obvious reasons. And I'm going to play this clip and I'm going to discuss it. All right.
Is that I think that trans women have a more beautiful understanding what womanhood is. I agree. And I think that unfortunately the programming for cis women it's kind of sad sometimes. Yeah, it is. And I'm like, actually, no, your womanhood is not your role. Mm-hmm. Your womanhood is not your status in society, and your womanhood is not your ability to be sexually assaulted. Yeah. And this
Also, I just hate. Anyway, all right, let's talk about it. It's going viral. That is Drew. I don't know her last name, so I'm just gonna call her Drew. And a non-binary person, I believe. I thought the reason why they were saying that was because they were trans, but the person isn't even trans making that. The person is a woman. And anyway, that's not even what I want to talk about. But first thing I want to say is obviously I disagree. I highly disagree. I think that also the biggest part that's upsetting people, and also it's really funny because, you know, Drew and her listeners for the most part are very, you know, left of center, very rah, and it's like upsetting people who you would think like would probably be like, yeah, whatever. It's upsetting even them. Like the comments are insane. People are like very much like not with the sentiment, and the main reason is more. The statement of more, I think, is like the main overall, but I disagree with the whole sentiment in general. Obviously, you know, that's obvious. And I want to say before I'm going to go in another direction, I want to say that I actually I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it. I'm going to move to the next direction. Okay, so one of the things, she goes like not the ability to be assaulted, which I feel like that's so, someone in the comments of this, and I agree, that's kind of a misogynistic take. Like, you're not as woke as you think you are. Crazy thing to say that that's what women even consider. But some of the things when I think about some of the things that when I think about like being a woman, like the things that I enjoy, things that like make being a woman beautiful, obviously the first thing I'm going to think of is just like our ability to bring another soul into the universe. I just think that is so, like, when I really sit down and think about it, like, women should be like like wives and mothers listening. Like, your husband obviously should worship God, and then when he's done, he should come and do like whatever a step down from worship is to you. Like, just thinking about like how like crazy it is that a woman's body brings a soul into this universe. A woman's body does this, not a man's. A woman's body. Does that make you less of a woman if you don't do that, or if you quote unquote can't do that? No, it doesn't make you less of a woman. It's just a crazy statement. It's just a crazy thing. It's just like a really crazy thing that like we all have the capacity. Like, it is all part of your DNA to be able to do that. We live in a fallen world, so sometimes, that doesn't happen for everyone. But it's just so crazy like that. That's one of the first things I think of when I think of being a woman. I don't think of like your ability to be assaulted. Like, what? Why would you say that? Some other things that I think about is obviously I think of like dressing up and like bows and glitter and sparkles. But another thing too is just like the moments of like getting your hair done. When I was younger, my mom and I went to the same hair salon, and it was pretty much an all day affair. And like we would both go and we'd be there for hours and we're just like talking. And I just think about like, and I remember like some other girls would come with their mom, and like we would come, and like the lady who owned the shop, she would put on a movie for us. And it's just like tiny moments like that. And just, we would just talk about like silly girl things like, oh, I got this at school. I saw this movie, just tiny moments like that. And then, thinking of like me and my mom spending time together. And then the people at the hair salon, the owner actually was good friends with my mom, and we all went to the same church. So adding in the Christian aspect of it, like, sometimes they'll be talking about Christian things and prayer, and like sometimes they would be praying together while they're there. And it's just like, gosh, it was like girlhood, womanhood. The first time you get your hair straightened. I remember the first time I got my hair straightened, I was like, whoa, this is fun. This is different. This is part of the things that you do growing up. When I also think of like our periods, and like there's such like a negative connotation about periods because we're not doing the things that we need to be doing so that they are not so like brutally awful. But I do feel blessed that I don't get really bad periods, thank the Lord. But like just thinking about like that, just the tiny things of like how as women we move in the world, and like also it's always like this like extra like kinship sometimes it feels with other women. I told this story a million times, but if you're new to the podcast, I'm gonna tell it again. One time when I was like the best night in college with two of my friends, and they were guys, so it was just me and these two guys, and we were having such like a great night. We were walking back from the place, and we were walking back to, we all lived in the dorms, we were walking back to the dorms, and this girl comes up and she like hooks arms with me. She goes, you don't have to go back with them if you don't want to. And I was like, okay, thank you. But no, these are my friends. She's like, no, seriously, like, if you want to walk with us, you can. And I was like, oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. But like, these are my boys. Like, they're like my closest friends. At the moment, one of them I'm like still BFFs with. And she was just like, okay. And then her friends like, you don't have to do that, blah, blah, blah. But I was like, girlhood, like that's being a woman, that's looking out for each other. I'm sure it probably did look a little crazy that, well, I don't know if it looked crazy, but anyway, she just thought she saw something and like spoke up, and I really appreciate that. I'm trying to think. Also, something else too I think about women, you add beauty. that is part of being a woman, is adding beauty to things. And then when I think of womanhood, these are the type of things I'm thinking of. There is no way, if you did not have the same experiences growing up, if you did not, have these things and thoughts, that you could have a more beautiful, let me look at the exact wording, a more beautiful, you understand womanhood, trans women understand womanhood better there's no way you can understand womanhood better than a biological woman. There's no way. Another thing, like, I think about, it's just like women, we beautify things, like just adding, you can always tell when there's like a woman involved in like a project, when a woman has been able to like express, like really be, I don't want to say being her feminine because that sounds so like, but like she's able to like just add something, like I mean, and obviously not when all women are the same, but like women just add beauty to things. Also, our parents, like, women are beautiful, like women are so beautiful. Men are nice to look at too, but like as an overall, like I feel like I see a lot more beautiful women. And I've heard people say that online before, and I was like, oh, I want to pay attention to see if I agree with that. And I do. I do. I do see more beautiful women. And it's just so, and this is something that like I'm thinking about. Like, I was at the gym. Yeah, I go to the gym. I was at the gym, and someone stopped me and was like, "Oh, they like my t-shirt." And I said, "Oh, thank you." I was wearing my Consistent Life Ethics t-shirt, and I was like, "Oh, thank you." She's like, "Oh, I liked your t-shirt that you had on yesterday too." And yesterday I was wearing my "Let's Go Taylor Swift's Husband" t-shirt, and things like that. Like, oh, that was just. And she's like a woman. She was probably like 50 something, and she was like, "Oh, I like it." I'm just like, that's woman, like that. Like, these are the things that are just like, and they're tiny and they're kind of like superficial, but like that's womanhood. Let me think, anything else I want to add? I think that's all I want to add. I just, that, and them, Drew and the other person, I think their name is something like something fighter, which is another, I don't know this. I'm just going by this clip. This clip is what I'm referencing. They are still not fully understanding why people are upset, why people are like not vibing with the comments. And sorry, I guess you don't get it. Actually, they probably do get it, but sometimes like you have to double down on the internet. And I think that's what they're doing. But I mean, the idea of more, let me read that one more time. They have
Amanda.
So they have a more beautiful they understand womanhood better. And in the thing, she says more beautiful. All right, now to another story that went viral. This is from The Hill. Massachusetts. Governor Maura Healey signs late-term abortion bill into law. Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey on Monday signed a bill lifting the restriction on abortion at or after 24 weeks, making the state's abortion law one of the broadest in the country. We've heard so many stories, and stories that are filled with a lot of pain and anguish and heartache and a lot of trauma. We heard stories about the worst moments of a person's life, of a couple's life, end quote. She added that she signed a law, so that new patients, people we don't know or won't meet, will be able to get the care they need in Massachusetts, end quote. The written law states that abortions can now be performed, quote, be performed by a physician based upon the professional judgment of the physician. The bill sailed through the legislature after passing the state house last month 119 to 33, with all Republicans and 9 Democrats voting against it. The bill later passed the Senate 15 to 4. Essentially, the law said that you can have an abortion up to 24 weeks, and now the governor signed so that you can have an abortion up until birth. So let's talk about we overturned Roe 2022, 2023, about 3 or 4 years ago. I'd be lying if I said that the results have been fantastic. This is one of many states that have made abortion part of their constitution, that have added laws to make abortion even like to extend, even more legal, to extend the weeks of abortion. This has This Massachusetts law is one of the most lax, but what has happened is not it is something that has happened in many states across the country. What this tells me is that culture has got to change. I do think we can and we should abolish abortion and make it illegal from birth to from conception. Starting at conception. We should make abortion illegal starting at conception. I don't know how that will happen, but I do know that we have to change culture. If we want to save as many babies as possible while this is going on, we have to change culture. I also want to say something that I feel like I don't hear a lot of pro-lifers say, but when people are saying like pro-lifers think that people are just willy-nilly getting up and on the 39th week and they're just going to have an abortion, most pro-lifers don't think that. I don't think anyone who is having an abortion after 24 weeks is like trying to be callous or evil. Are there people that do that? Yes. Don't bean soup this. But I think that a lot of times people are just in these terrible, awful situations and they feel as if it's their last resort. It is people who have wanted their baby, who have prepared for their baby, and it's truly their last resort. That's how they feel. And I think that the rule should be saving them both. You don't actually have to, and you can do your research on this. You don't actually have to dismember a human to once it gets to that stage. Like you can have a C-section and try to save them both. Will both of them be saved? No. But you can try. Like, you don't actually have to dismember a child at that stage. Like, that is a misconception. And once again, you can look this up. The other thing is like these stories of people who they said their doctors won't perform with them because the law is ambiguous or blah, blah, blah. Sometimes that is true. And like, we need to do better. Like, yeah, let's do better. If we're really going to do this, like, I think that's the thing too. I think sometimes it's okay for us to admit, like, okay, maybe we should word this so it's clearer so that these doctors won't feel nervous to perform this, because that's not helpful either. But a lot of times it's just doctors trying to be activists or people trying to start a case. It's more often than not that. And I'm not saying these mothers are, I'm saying probably some of them are being taken advantage of. And once again, some of them could be, callous or whatever. But I really don't think that in this stage, most of them are. And I think that like, we really have to take a hard look at the pro-life movement, which has been, but we really take a hard look and see like, what are we doing and what can we be doing better? Because this is not good. And then all of people cheering, it's just I just don't understand cheering on the death of other humans. I don't understand that. Whether it's in the womb, whether it's in our country, whether it's in other countries, I just don't understand cheering on the death of our fellow humans. I don't get it. So yeah, I just think we really need to be really vigilant and figuring out how do we change culture. I think changing culture is like it's pivotal. It is pivotal in this moment because the more it's becoming legal, the more it's becoming normalized, the more it's becoming, a conversation of topic. You guys know I love Olivia Rodrigo. I mean, she's like queen of this, which if we could just have a quick conversation. Actually, it needs to be longer realistically, but let's talk about it. I would love to talk about it with you. I want to hear your perspective. Olivia, if you're listening, I'd love to hear your perspective, and then like maybe let's chat. But it's everywhere. It's people talking about it, this and that, and like I just don't always. Our side just needs to do better. And I think that is going to come from our individual conversations. I am so disillusioned in the conversations that we're having on major platforms because the people that we're getting to represent us are, and we can do better. We should do better. There are people who would have liked to do better, people who have tried to do better, but I think, like I said, it's going to be a conversation that we're going to have like in person with our fellow neighbors. Like, we're going to have to be the ones to do the research. And when the conversation does come up, let me show you, like, you don't have to dismember a child. You don't have to actually kill the child at this stage. They can have a C-section. There is a way to do this. Yeah, gosh, yeah, she did get pregnant, but, life is precious. I wonder, wait, you know what? Let's take her to a pregnancy care center. Like, how do we, let's try to get her some help. Okay, our friend really needs a new van. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call the pregnancy care center. You know what? Let me reach out to this church. Like, there are just, like, we're going to have to be the ones. We're the foot soldiers in this race. We're going to have to be the ones that are going to be in our communities and our cultures doing the thing. Because these laws, I'm really not, I'm trying not to sound negative. These laws are just out of control. And until we can change culture, because it's back in the States, I don't know how we're going to fix this. I just don't. If you have ideas or if hope or whatever, like, reach out, like, share them with me. I'd love to share them with the audience and everything, but it's up to us in culture specifically to change this. We have to be those people to stand up and speak up in our communities with each other. We have to be the ones to do that. And it's hard. Let me tell you, it's hard, especially because it's just so unpopular. I'm sorry, it's unpopular. You're not cool. People automatically change their opinions on you, but we have to be the ones to speak up and use discernment. Obviously, someone just use discernment when you do it, and then be in community. If you are nervous or if you want to talk to someone about it, like, reach out to me. Like I've said before, you're gonna have to message me probably twice, but I will get back as soon as I can. But yeah, like, we are going to be the changers. We are changing culture. We're the one changing culture. We can't rely on the big name people to represent us, because they just I'll leave it at that. Let's see here. Anything else? So last thing I want to do is, for those that don't know, this new next couple months of the podcast, we are building. And this month, the theme is building your life. And I want to do like a kind of a segment on like the topic of the month, building my life. So we're doing a 31-day reset. Hope you're reading your Bible. I hope you are going through your journaling and you're able to like keep track and like get your life like back in order. I have been doing it. And I do feel like a little bit of a difference. Like, I do feel there's some things like in my life that I've been able to like think a little bit deeper, or I was gonna say more deeply. I guess that is fine, but think deeper on. And yeah. So for this segment of Build My Life, I want to tell you guys I went to see & Juliet. It was so good. And when I think of building my life, I think about like part of building a meaningful life, because the whole thing is building a meaningful life. This year, building a meaningful life. Part of that is just making sure that you're enjoying, like, you're doing things that are fun. You're participating in life. I think sometimes we get caught up, and this is also really for anyone listening, like singles, like late 20s, early 30s, like I specifically Christians. I think sometimes we just get really caught up in like going about life and like doing X, Y, and Z and making sure that you're serving and you're doing this, you're doing that. But we're not like living it. We're not enjoying the things around us. So I think like going to a play, laughing, singing the music. So & Juliet essentially is about what would happen if Juliet didn't kill herself, and like in Romeo and Juliet, and it uses music like Britney Spears, Kelly Clarkson, Katy Perry, Demi Lovato, Backstreet Boys, who else? Elle Goulding. Like, it just has all of these music and it's like incorporated in there. So it's just so good. And I had such a good time. And honestly, left me really inspired. One of the final songs was Roar. And I don't want to tell you too much about it, but like, it just, you leave inspired. I've been listening to the album. Like, it's just like, I hope while you're building this meaningful life with me, I hope that we're both able to have moments like this where we're also enjoying our community. I love theater. We're also enjoying our community. We are getting dressed. We're tons of compliments on my dress, tons of compliments. And my strap was showing, and this girl was like, "Hey, let me fix that for you. Girls, we have to stick together." I was like, "That's right, girl." It was just so sweet. Tons of compliments on my dress. Like, these are moments, this is life, and this is enjoying life, and we can do that. We don't have to be sad all the time. We don't have to, wish that things were different. I mean, we can't wish that things were different, but we don't have to like spend our whole life doing that. Like, I'm talking to myself too, because like I think about it a lot. I do wish things were different, but like it's not. So like, let's live. This is our life. It's now or never. We're not going to live forever. That was a song in there, and that was the first time I heard that song, and like loved it. But yeah, so that's what I did. You guys should go see it if it's in your town. All right, that's the show. If you enjoyed it, share it with your friends. Let me know. Comment and everything. Rate, review, like, subscribe, all of those things. Have a good day, night, evening, however, or wherever you're listening. Bye.